Donald Trump pushing back on claims that the country is lacking a sense of hope following his November election victory. First Lady Michelle Obama making the controversial comments during her final White House interview with Oprah Winfrey. She's taking an indirect swipe at the president-elect by pitting him against her husband's former campaign slogan.
Now we're feeling what not having hope feels like. You know, hope is necessary. It's a necessary concept. And Barack didn't just talk about hope because he thought it was just a nice slogan to get votes. I mean, he and I and so many believe that what else do you have if you don't have hope?
Although Mr. Trump was not particularly critical of the First Lady's comments, he did make a point to counter them in his rally in Alabama on Saturday. Let's watch.
Michelle Obama said yesterday that there's no hope. But I assume she was talking about the past, not the future, because I'm telling you, we have tremendous hope, and we have tremendous promise and tremendous potential. So I honestly believe she meant that statement in a different way than it came out, because I believe there is tremendous hope, and beyond hope, we have such potential. This country has such potential. You watch. It's going to be so special.
Okay, Charles, a few things. Harris is saying it during the clip. He seems to very much be going out of his way to give her the benefit of the doubt, really reframing it for her in a way that I'm not sure many of us felt that she did mean it. So questions around that. And secondly, this. She is the First Lady of the United States, but she's also a human being. She's an American. Does she have a right to say her opinion and an opinion that is reflected by some of this country, or as First Lady, is that out of bounds?
No, well, I think she was out of bounds in the sense that she was speaking and for we, assuming all of Americans, and obviously she hasn't been paying attention to the size of the rallies. Obviously she didn't pay attention to all of the counties that her husband won twice that Donald Trump won. 100. Obviously she didn't pay attention to the stock market. Obviously she hasn't paid attention to consumer sentiment surveys, manufacturing surveys, or the housing survey that came out last month with the biggest jump in buyer traffic since July of 2005. Obviously, she's not paying attention to certain things, and I think that's irresponsible as First Lady. You can be upset and sad and all those things, but you can't say that the country has been stripped of hope. Maybe certain people have.
Certain people.
But the country overall is on a very hopeful path right now and a very optimistic path right now.
Harris.
Yeah, you know, I mean, we're heading into one of the holiest times on the Christian calendar, and I'm ecumenical in my household, so, you know, I'm thinking of the Judeo calendar and observances now, too. Without hope, I think of things like what's going on in Syria, the Holocaust, the pogroms. I think of a lot of things without hope. A country whose electoral college is about to say that it was legitimate on November 8th to elect Donald Trump, and actually putting that into motion does not bleed hopelessness to me. I'm confused by what she means. And my mom used to say that if you see a problem, that means you're obligated to help. So is she going to stand up and help? What is she going to do about it?
That's a great point, Kat.
It also represents the Democrats continuing to be out of touch with the same group of people that voted for Trump, which is why they lost. Some people are feeling like there's no hope because of Donald Trump going to be the president, but some people are feeling hope for the first time in a long time. A lot of the people in those flyover states who haven't had their concerns addressed by President Obama and the administration before that. So sure, some people are feeling hopeless, but to say all Americans, like you were saying, if this continues, Democrats are going to keep losing because some people have more hope than they've ever had.
Meghan, let's talk about those people, though. Some absolutely optimistic that we see the markets going, you know, doing awesome. But some people legitimately don't have hope because of Donald Trump. Can Michelle Obama speak to that group? Is that okay for you?
So my issue, I actually watched this whole interview because I'm just fascinated by her last exit interview, and in the context, thought the setting was a little weird. But she goes on to talk about how gracious the Bushes were when she left office, and how gracious Laura Bush was, and how much influence she had, and how much advice she gave, and the advice she was giving to Melania Trump. And I find it strange that the Bushes, who I think can be put as an icon of how to behave out of office, that they haven't even left yet, and she's already talking smack about our new president. And or about his supporters at least. And I think it's really tone deaf for where we are as a country. I think it's really important for the transition of power that they put on a good face and say, this is what America wants. This is our democratic process in action. I think this is the first indicator of what they're going to be like out of office. I've said it on this couch before. I'll say it again. He's going to be the most angry, upset, bitter ex-president. He will be doing his first Slow Jam interview with Jimmy Fallon 2 weeks out of office, and he will be on cable news at length critical of Donald Trump by Steve
not at all hopeful around what seems to be a pretty positive relationship between at least Donald and President Obama right now.
I think at the moment, but your first lady isn't going on television saying there's war without hope. If there's some sort of, if everything is peachy and you're excited, they would not be saying this about Hillary Clinton. And as Charles pointed out, I think it's incredibly tone deaf for the tone of the country right now after such a historic election. And I just think going forward, I wish they would take a page out of the book of what the Bushes have done, because I think they have conducted themselves with such class and sophistication. And I'm not saying they can't, but President Bush has not heard one negative thing about Obama to my knowledge his entire 8 years in office.
Well, I will continue to be hopeful, Meghan, about their ability to do that. Right. A New York Times columnist taking heat for suggesting President-elect Trump would have a, quote, incentive to allow a terror attack on American soil. So did Times columnist Paul Krugman cross the line? And is this the kind of media bias we can expect for the next 4 years?
Yeah.